Oh, if people are here.
People are here.
I think people are in
How
here.
can you tell?
We're live. The ticker, the counter is in the corner.
The counter is in the corner there. Hey everyone. Hello, hello. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Clarissa Harris, and I'm a consultant over at Equity in the Center. And today I'm joined by two wonderful guests, some of our long-term contributing partner facilitators, Monday Morning Consultants, Erica and Jamie, who are going to talk to us today about the fundamental and so timely practice of critical hope. So I want to thank you both for being here today, and thank you so much for having this conversation with us. I want to talk a little bit about critical hope as a practice, what it is, and how we can embody it in our day-to-day, specifically in the organizations that we're in the way that we show up in our leadership, and the way that we show up for each other, in a broader scope as humans. And then if you could tell us a little bit more about the training and all the good stuff. But first, you want to introduce yourselves a little bit to the folk who may not already know the wonderful Monday Morning Consultants.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Clarissa and Equity in the Center, for hosting this, because we're excited, and we hope that even if you're just finding out about the session today, you consider joining. I'm Erica Nicole Griffin. I'm a principal at Monday Morning Consultants, and I'm based out of Atlanta. And I've been consulting with nonprofits in the U.S. and Canada for about 13 years, almost 13 years.
Thank you. Jamie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Jamie Joanno. I use she, her pronouns. I am based outside of Detroit in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Monday Morning Consultants has been around for a little over 5 years, right, Erica? Erica and I have been working together off and on for 21 years.
For long-term commitments and friendships, collaborations.
Yeah, hope, definitely. Because we've had fights too, right? Like,
that's beautiful.
We're so good. Let's see. My background is actually, I was a college professor for 10 or 11 years, and I was educating nonprofit professionals. And I actually garnered a lot of my hope from them because of the amazing work they were doing in the community. And really working to shift the landscape of the United States towards one that is much more equitable, human-centered, and loving and kind.
Yeah. Thank you for that. While we're on the, Erica, can you also tell us, where did hope come? Where did the idea to create a session about hope, centered in your own experience of hope, come from? What's your historical analysis of hope in your own life?
Yeah. Like Jamie said, we've been working together for 21 years, and it's because we went to graduate school together, and we were in the same research lab on the very first day together. So we literally worked, but we also studied. And one of the, a lot of our professors used to follow the work pretty closely of Paulo Freire. A lot of our professors naturally followed and incorporated the work of Bell Hooks. And when you start to see those threads of the people training you, you start to follow those threads as well. And so, Paulo Freire from Critical Pedagogy, and we know Bell Hooks from so much of her Black feminism, but they also both talked a great deal about how critical theory should really kind of transform everything we do. And so critical hope was one of those tenets that we have known about. And then I think both of us chose to go into work that required a level of hope, because we're always trying to go deeper into social justice. So even though we worked separately for a long time, both of us were required to stay connected to critical hope just to do the work we were doing. And then when we came together, critical hope wasn't its own featured moment in our work. Not yet, but in the last couple years, we've just been naturally talking about it. It's in some of the, we do a lot of executive search, and some of our clients have asked us to put critical hope on the position description. So it's becoming a theme that we talk about so much that we decided to do a standalone option. But we've taught a lot of classes over the years with Equity in the Center. This is just an additional offering that it feels necessary. I mean, we were talking about it before we went live, right?
Exactly. It's right on time. Right on time. So this is a great segue into the first question that I want to ask you. What is critical hope? What actually is critical hope, and how is it different from just positivity or optimism? Like, what makes critical hope the substantial practice, the substantial pedagogy, and under which like folk can find resilience?
That's a really good question, and I think it's important to distinguish it from toxic positivity or even just optimism. So critical hope is really grounded in a deep analysis of systems of oppression. It's grounded in a thorough understanding of power structures and a comprehensive understanding of history. In our context, that would be US history. It's really about this need to continue to fight for the kind of world that we believe is necessary and important for all human beings. It's also really about connecting with other people who are fighting for the kind of world that we desire, right? So that collective action is an important tenet of critical hope, but it's about knowing what you're up against and continuing to do the work regardless, because what's the alternative?
Exactly.
The alternative is to lean into individualism, to just say whatever everybody, it's all going downhill, so I'm just going to excuse myself. That's not going to get us to the place where we need, right? And we may not see it in our lifetimes, but we will keep fighting for it every single day, because I refuse to be on the wrong side of history.
Thank you. Thank you, Jamie. What do you have, Erica? What would you add?
What would I add to that? Because I mean, I love the way Jamie talks about it. I think critical hope also maintains your own mental health. I don't want people to think that you are just fighting for things that are external to your own body, your own kitchen table. I think critical hope helps you to wake up in a better place than if you didn't have it. You know, just being hopeful in my own community helps me to feel healthier, happier. I'm a better friend. I'm a better mom, because hope is kind of generating inside of me. So I'm not just a better co-laborer, co-conspirator, because I will be, but I'm a healthier person, and it's rooted in science. They talk about what hope does to your mental health, your physical and emotional health. So I encourage people to do it, because a lot of us know when we talk to our friends, family in the group chat, folks feel beat down. And that affects your mental health, that affects your emotional well-being, which challenges your energy and challenges your creativity and productivity. So even the things you want to do, you don't pursue. So this is just another way to take a bit of our joy back as well. And I know that's a buzzword. I don't want to trigger nobody. I don't want to start no fights. But
joy.
I am someone who feels like joy is essential to doing the work, because I need my tank full, not just of food, but other stuff. So
exactly.
There's lots of benefits.
Exactly. The idea that hope and joy aren't parts of the process of liberation, aren't parts of the process of like, building out a different space for us that we're currently living within. The idea that joy and hope have become somewhat pejorative is frightening to even think about, because they are so fundamental to the way that we engage as humans, right? The way that we engage as folk in this work.
Agreed.
I think
you and we agreed that we will we will fight back whenever people's, I guess they think you're not serious.
Yeah, it seems that it's light or not not a heavy hitting
you're not a real serious grown up in the fight, and that's just a lie.
You're so hopeful, right? And I think that that it could even be thought of as you were so hopeful. Well, moving into like our next question, how might cultivating critical hope shift the way that we approach leadership? How do we take this idea of hope and give it weight, right? In the way that we approach leadership, accountability, and collaboration.
Yeah. And I like the fact that you even lifted up that question in the context of leaders. I think critical hope pulls you, like Jamie said, to be connected to community. And for a community, for a leader, a lot of times it's people who report to you. And I think staying connected to those people is so crucial, not just doing the work, but also building a rapport. You're building this authentic relationship. You're building trust. And when there's trust, there's transparency, or at least the opportunity for transparency. So imagine a leader that goes from being distant, someone who has a very top-down mentality, who pulls in critical hope, which pulls in the people, which kind of generates authenticity and rapport and trust. And transparency means I can delegate stuff. I'm not worried about what you're going to do. Transparency means we have a wider berth for mistakes. And you hear me think out loud anyway. I'm not doing all of this work in isolation and then just kind of handing it to you. Transparency means we're kind of brainstorming out loud. And so now you're helping me to edit much earlier in my whatever it is, my programming, my strategy. There are other voices and other fingerprints on this earlier on because I don't have fear, because we have trust and I am authentic. And, so I think critical hope is not just a choice. It kind of just opens up another avenue of opportunity. And you're making a lot of different choices now. It's not just one choice. Your whole life kind of transforms when you are someone who's critically hopeful. You're making choices you would have never made before. So it's hard to say what it is. I think it's easier sometimes to say what you're letting go of, right? This kind of like overly hierarchical thinking, this isolated thinking, this competition that you have on that. You probably shed some of that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you brought up the competition part, Erica, because I feel like leaders who embody critical hope have a significant level of humility. And so when you understand systems of power and privilege and how oppressive forces work, you also understand white supremacy being at the root of or at the foundation of our country and our society, and you understand how you can be complicit in it. And so you are able to give yourself grace to continue to unlearn it and develop those practices on a daily basis to divest from it, and give yourself grace knowing that you are human and you are going to make mistakes and you're moving away from perfectionism. And I just think it changes so much how you show up. And then when people see a leader who's able to model humility and connection and collective action, it invigorates other people, because now they see you as their ally, not their competitor, right? And that's the way we're going to move the needle. So it's a lot of practice every single day to develop your sense of critical hope. And there are days where, don't get me wrong, like where I'm like, oh,
We're just doing it.
I'm done.
We're out here.
I'm gonna fall under the bed and just hide from the world. But then you get out and you start all over again. And I think too, it was making me think of I remind myself as a parent, we've gone through some really, really challenging times with my teen daughter. And I've just often imagined myself zooming out to the bigger picture, and knowing that even though in this very moment it feels impossible and it feels like we are not going to survive this, like I look at my older sibling who did survive a very tumultuous teenagehood, right? Like, so, and I literally imagine zooming out and thinking like, this is just one moment in our timeline, and our timeline is so much greater than this. And shift, because there's evidence of it historically, right? Like that's the thing. We have evidence of amazing resistors who have fought for the rights that we are, benefiting from today. So I think that reminder, yeah,
right? Like we dream about, or we remember resistors during Jim Crow, where those same resistors were remembered by resistors in South Africa, right? South African leaders studied Jim Crow residents who were fighting in the early civil rights era, the modern civil rights era, and now people are looking to South African leaders from the 80s and 90s to help us think about things like general strikes in the United States, right? So when we do that, it's reconstituting itself. It's becoming that's much more saturated and condensed and fruitful. You think about how Palestinians look to 1990s resistance, right? And so you see names like George Floyd in Palestine. Right. But then you have Palestinians educating people in Ferguson on how to maintain a 24-hour resistance, literal step by step. So when we talk about imagining, I think Jamie said, I have an older sister. I can look to her, talk to her, and she helps you to imagine. Community helps you to stay connected to people who are a little bit farther along.
Exactly.
And it makes it easier to imagine me in their shoes when I can kind of see their shoes, and I get to talk to you and you can tell me, this is how I got over. And now my imagination is a little bit more colorful for me. And that can keep you hanging on for a night.
Exactly.
So I'm glad you mentioned, like, I have an example that helps me to zoom out. I know things are going to be all right because I see that it was all right for her.
Seen the arc of resistance, right?
Yeah.
Like I have seen the legacy of resistance, that we all are technically pieces of a legacy of resistance.
Yeah, we inherited it.
We are all interconnected. And I love this. Hearing you talk about putting the hubris back into these systems and these processes, and rehumanizing the way that we think about how we engage in these moments in the institutions that we show up in, because that is how we will survive it, right? That's how we have survived it in the past. And so I think that arcs into like my next question of just like, how can organizations, organizations and structures institutionalize critical hope? I think oftentimes when I think about critical hope, we talk about it on an individual level or even at a community level, but it's very difficult for us to branch into that place of understanding how organizations can operationalize and institutionalize critical hope, so that it's shared, that it's practiced, that it's protected, and it's not just something that individuals experience.
Yeah, I think organizations need to be willing to kind of put their money where their mouth is, right? Like to actually create systems within the organization that get people together. So whether it be learning communities, caucus groups, employee resource groups, those kinds of things where people can come together and learn, also heal, find respite, etc. I think those are really crucial for organizations to begin to really push forward with, especially now, given that so many people are pulling back from equity work. Like, this is the time to not lose momentum. This is the time to dig in even further. I also think like making sure that your employees have access to opportunities around professional development, around finding other people who are doing similar work and developing those connections. You have to actually tie it to the job description, right? So like Erica was saying, we have organizations that are like, well, we need to have critical hope in the job description for our new executive director. We want them to embody this and then lead the organization in that direction. But also performance management, right? Like, so if you are insistent that you're pushing your organization to be more equitable, inclusive, kind, human-centered, then you have to hold people accountable. You also have to be willing to be held accountable, right? As leaders, as managers, as employees, as people engaging together. I want you to hold me accountable. If I make a mistake, please point it out. That's an opportunity for growth, for me evolving. It's not you telling me I'm a terrible person. Like we got to stop that kind of thinking. But I think organizations can do a lot, right? We've been delighted to see some organizations who are still doing this work despite the fact that we're living in 2025. Right, where people, organizations, institutions of higher education, for example, are being threatened daily because they're doing equity work. And yet we still have some organizations that are saying, we don't care, we're going to keep doing it anyway, right? Like, this is who we are and we're going to live our values. I love seeing that. That gives me hope.
Yeah, right? I like that. And the outcome of organizations living their values, if people are curious, like if your organization ditched it, the ones that are living their values, people are getting paid more. People have more access to healthcare. We have more LGBTQ folks working there and staying there, because losing talent is one of the biggest things.
Melt. I'm telling you, the melt.
You have disabled people who are able to stay at a job because the job is not hostile. The job has given them the access to healthcare that everyone else gets. And so now you keep that talent, right? You have a disabled leader who understands intersectionality in systems and how, from a disability point of view, we can make real correction. You're going to lose those people because you quit on your DEI and now your workplace is hostile to them. The people who did not quit, those people are able to stay and make real change versus forcing somebody out because your environment is incorrect. Your environment's behind the times. So I agree with Jamie. Like, for people who are staying the course, they're seeing the benefits. Their work is sharper, it's more sophisticated, it's tested, and people want to stay. That's the
I think recently there was an interview with the CEO of Elf, and he was like, "Hey, like I have the data. I have the data to show that like 200. I think it was like 256%. Like more is getting done. More is getting done because people are committed to this work because of the way that we have invested in them being able to be here with us, and the way that we're showing up with each other, and that we've cultivated a community. So we're not constantly having to rebuild pieces of our structure that have melted away every time we lose a leader or we lose a critical part of our workforce. And, you know, of course, the article paralleled it very much, though, was just like, well, what does that mean for 2025 that you're stepping in? He was like, what does it mean? What could it possibly mean except that, like, this matters. This is important. This is
what you did the DEI for.
Why we did it. You know, this is a 10 years. This is, I think it was, I don't know if it was like 8 or 10 years, but he's like, this is why we've done the study, to show that there is data. There are metrics. That this is important because it is how we persist, right? I think I wonder also if y'all would take a second to talk a little bit about for not just for folk who are not necessarily in leadership positions within their organization, who are looking to figure out how to help push and institutionalize practices of critical hope. What advice do you have for them, folk who don't necessarily have as much influence and power in their organizations, but are looking to start building a culture around critical hope?
I think
people like you.
I would start where you are, right? You're not a leader. You can't make huge organizational changes, but I think start talking to the people around you and not just what's on the agenda, right? Start talking to people on your same, I guess, working level, or who work in your same building, or who are always attending the same meetings on the same projects. Find out what they care about. Find out what they notice that you don't notice. Right? There could be issues on the team that aren't visible to you because you weren't targeted by them. And so you're privileged and you don't even know it. And I think start supporting each other that way. And when it's time to complain, it's not one person complaining, it's 4, right? It's not 4 people complaining, it's 8. Or I think also building some sort of collectivity around what you all do well. So it's not just Jamie shouting me out. It's Jamie and 4 other people reminding the team how valuable I am, and that can become a routine as well. And then, of course, people do other really big things that generate in their area. That's inside the organization and community. I feel like it's similar. Start with your neighbors. If you have extra cookies, take those to your neighbor's house right now, right? So
I just get to know them at all, right? Like,
say hello when you walk past them. Don't make me mad. Like, be a good person. But at work, I think literally talking to people, finding out what they notice, finding out what they care about, and remembering that anything that you can say loud as a single person, you can say that much louder, and probably in a better way as a group. I would start there.
Jimmy, do you have anything to add?
I would just add, like, within an organization, if you're an employee and you don't positionally, you don't have a lot of power within the organization, I would say find other people like you who are committed to making change and start getting louder and putting pressure on leadership to actually, if we're really going to do this work, let's live our values, right? Because leadership often will listen when there's a critical mass of people who are pressuring them to move in a particular direction, right? And we've seen so many organizations doing really amazing things, like engaging in compensation analyses to make sure that they're paying their employees a fair, competitive, livable wage, that there's not a major gap between the highest paid and the lowest paid. We've seen leaders who refuse to get paid higher than a certain number because their members don't make that much money, right? And they want to be on par with their members if they're a membership organization. We are seeing leaders who are really willing to lean into their values in very tangible ways. And I think that's also really hopeful. Find those organizations. If you're putting pressure on your leadership and they're not listening, There are other really fantastic organizations out there who want committed people who will actually pay you what you're worth and give you the kind of work-life balance that you need to be a human being in this world.
Yeah, they're also building pipelines. They're starting internships. Internships are coming back and they're paid and you're doing real work. And so now you have young folks who may not have access to this kind of job. Those jobs are back and you're not limiting their access by paying them nothing, paying them a fair wage, you're mentoring them. And so we're kind of generating the next flow of leaders because part of being a leader is making sure that you're not cementing off the pathway, right? You should constantly be succession planning. And now we're bringing more people along. Those, like Jamie said, those we have organizations in our kind of client universe that are paying voluntary taxes to Indigenous leaders. I can think of at least two of our, I know Equity in the Center pays taxes. One of our partners, Wayfinding Partners, they pay taxes. Jamie, I want to say Homestead, they pay a voluntary tax.
Oh yeah, they do.
So we know people living their values, and those organizations may not always be the largest corporation on the block.
They're not huge.
But the people who stick to their values, they see the benefit. They reap the benefits one way or another. So we encourage people to lean in and to just, like Jamie said, what's the alternative? We have nothing to lose but our chains, right?
Exactly.
What is the alternative to not fighting for liberation? That means you're going to steal liberation from somebody else. We're drawing lines in the sand at this point. So
come on, right? This is beautiful. Okay, well, we have like a little less than 5 minutes left. I just want to, if we could give folk a quick goodie bag of what to expect from our session coming up on November 10th and November 17th. November 10th and November 17th.
Yeah.
What would you like to what can they expect from this training on Critical Hope? What can they expect in these sessions with you all? What skills will they learn? What can they take away? What is if they're on the fence of should I attend? Is this for me? What would you say? What can be offered?
We'll talk about the theory, right? We can't be afraid of that. Critical Hope has always existed, but I think kind of wrapping it in words and theory in one place. We can start there, and the different voices that have contributed to it explicitly, who mention it literally by name in their work, but also the people who represent it implicitly. They may not mention that exact title, but they kind of embody it. So there'll be a lot of thinkers that we talk about. Yeah. The ones like Paulo Freire and Bell Hooks, the ones you don't know, but also people across different kinds of media. Like Jamie is she'll tell you incorporating all kinds of media is one of the best ways to understand things like theory. What else, Jamie?
We'll talk about the various tenets of Critical Hope. So critical self-reflection will be part of it, power sharing, praxis, which is a term coined by Freire that's really combining reflection and action. We'll go over some historical moments that really help drive our connection to Critical Hope and help keep us looking forward. We'll talk about healing and intergroup dialogue. And we will also talk about some of our daily practices that we engage in to maintain hope. One thing that we do is called glimmer hunting, where we look for little bits of joy in our daily life. It can be something as small as the leaves falling from the trees and how there's beauty in that, or it can be something bigger, like looking at the mayor of Chicago and his executive order making it not a hospitable or welcoming place to ICE. So it's all those kinds of things that we find in hunting for glimmers in our everyday.
And we encourage people to build their own plan. So it starts in theory and it gets down to actual daily things that you should be doing. It's hygienic, so you need to do it every day. Building power at home, how to connect with people doing work in your hyper local area, how to start to find where you belong in big movements. Don't jump on stage with a bullhorn. That's not That's not what you're called to do if you're just starting out, but you are called to do something. And honestly, anybody can do anything. And we want people to feel like I left with action items that fit me that I can literally start tomorrow. We also encourage you to coordinate if you're on social media, coordinate it and follow as many people as you can that are like pulling that information towards you. So we give you people across all social media. We give you documentaries, we give you podcasts, we give you music, plays. You want to start to kind of retrain your day so that you're getting it in lots of different ways. And so your imagination starts to pop, you get creative, you start to work.
Huh.
That's the goal. We want to push you into actually doing it. And for some people, it's joining the flotilla. Maybe you join a flotilla. Maybe you are funding. Maybe you're donating. Maybe you're cooking food for elders. Maybe you're supporting at the school board. Maybe you're going to community meetings. Maybe you are supporting, your local animal shelter. Maybe you're requesting books at your local library.
Huh.
There's plenty of things for you to do. So, we hope to talk about all that.
This is
And
beautiful.
then meet other people who care about it
Who
too.
also care. Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting to like be in a Zoom room full of people who are
The folk. Yeah.
Yeah.
The folk. Well, this is exciting. I'm super excited to be there. Please join us for Cultivating Critical Hope, a critical analysis of systems and culture with a reminder that people will always prevail over oppression. And it'll be hosted on Monday, November 10th from 1 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Monday, November 17th, 1 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So please think about registering for that event. We'll drop the link in the comments at the end of this session, and I hope to see you there. And thank you so much, Erica and Jamie, for taking time out of your day to just talk about this amazing session coming up, and also just to spend time together in space talking about stuff that matters. It just feels good.
Yeah, it does. See, it does. It does feel good.
It worked.
It works. Critical. I'm about to go glimmer hunt that all over my house. I'm like, look, you got to glimmer hunt this out. So I appreciate y'all. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was really good to see you.
Good to see you as well. All right, bye, folks. Talk to y'all later.